On this Wednesday night, the U.S. Supreme Court loses its swing vote. Anthony Kennedy's replacement could become one of the most consequential decisions President Trump makes. We'll show you how his votes affected American history and explain why his replacement could completely reshape the human rights landscape. Also tonight, money laundering at BC casinos. A scathing report says it's a major issue. After a CBC News investigation, British Columbia promises to clamp down. This is The National. The U.S. Supreme Court is about to make a hard right turn. Justice Anthony Kennedy, a pendulum between Republicans and Democrats, is retiring, leaving Donald Trump to name his replacement. And tonight, the president said this.
We have a pick to come up. We have to pick a great one. We have to pick one that's going to be there for 40 years, 45 years.
And that could mean a generation of influence, making his choice, as Paul Hunter explains, one of the most dramatic decisions of his presidency.
It's Anthony Kennedy's resignation, quitting the Supreme Court after more than 30 years, but it's absolutely Donald Trump's moment.
We will begin our search for a new justice of the United States Supreme Court that will begin immediately.
It's another chance for Trump to shape the politics of the court for years to come. Kennedy is a conservative, but one who'd regularly side with liberals, as he did on abortion rights and same-sex marriage. And though the president had nothing but praise for Kennedy today,
he is a man who is displaying great vision. He's displayed tremendous vision. And
Trump will almost certainly replace him with someone much more forcefully conservative. In fact, there's already a short list of 25 drawn up last year.
It will be somebody from that list.
And the fact is, there's little Democrats can do to block anyone Trump chooses. Their fear already centers on those social issues and the potential for a reshaped Supreme Court to, for example, curtail Americans' access to abortions.
This is the most important Supreme Court vacancy for this country in at least a generation. Nothing less than the fate of our health care system, reproductive rights for women, and countless other protections for middle-class Americans are at stake.
But indeed, Republicans have enough votes in the Senate to ensure speedy confirmation for whoever Trump puts forward. Today, the same senator who 2 years ago derailed the Barack Obama nomination pledged full speed ahead when Trump names his choice.
We will vote to confirm Justice Kennedy's successor this fall.
The president said he found out about the resignation only this morning when he met with Kennedy for half an hour in the Oval Office. Said Trump, it was a wonderful discussion. Andrew.
So, Paul, on the face of it, I mean, Kennedy's vote was just one of 9. Why would his replacement with another conservative, albeit one further to the right, be such a game changer?
You know, it's hard to overstate the degree to which U.S. Supreme Court decisions impact life in this country. And the fact is, particularly on contentious matters, its decisions are effectively made along party lines. So right now, you got 4 conservative justices, 4 liberals, and Anthony Kennedy, a conservative with liberal leanings. Last year, Trump named another justice, Neil Gorsuch. But it was less of a deal because Gorsuch was a staunch conservative who replaced a staunch conservative. Status quo. This time, you'll likely get a staunch conservative replacing Kennedy, a swing voter, making the court itself solidly, reliably, staunchly conservative. That's why Democrats are so worried. And consider these 3 words: Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a staunchly liberal justice. She's 85 years old, and hers could well be the next seat to fill on the court. If that happens on Trump's watch, and it sure could, the divide gets even deeper, shaping life in this country, tilting it conservatively, potentially for generations, Andrew.
Thank you, Paul. Paul Hunter in Washington. Now, on Paul's point about Kennedy sometimes going left when he could easily have gone right, I want to show you exactly how his opinions have shaped the U.S. on some pretty critical issues.
Obamacare!
On gun rights and Obamacare, he did side with conservatives.
The cases swing, I don't.
But Kennedy sided with liberals on issues like affirmative action and striking down the death penalty for juvenile offenders. In 1992, he voted to reaffirm the core of Roe v. Wade, which guarantees a woman's right to have an abortion. Kennedy also evolved into a champion for gay rights, overturning a ban on federal benefits for same-sex couples in 2013 and writing another majority opinion in 2015 that legalized same-sex marriage. Now, as you saw a few moments ago, the U.S. president was at a rally tonight in Fargo, North Dakota. The purpose of that visit was to campaign for a Republican Senate hopeful. But not long into his speech, Trump shifted to the topic of trade with Canada.
We love Canada, but they're taking advantage of us. We can't let that happen. We can't let it happen. The era of global freeloading and taking advantage of the United States is over. It's just over.
Tough talk on trade seems to be popular among the president's supporters, and North Dakota is a Trump-friendly state. But these days, North Dakota is in a bit of a tough place. You see, that state does a lot of business with this country.
Well, this is a big issue for North Dakota. North Dakota, most of our products end up in Canada. We're starting to see prices come out into the consumer side, and that's really going to be when people go, hold on a second, what are we doing here now?
And just to give you a sense of how reliant North Dakota is on Canada, almost 84% of the state's exports come here, and more than half, 54% of their imports come from here. Now, Canadian industries, too, are in limbo, waiting for this country's government to release its final list of retaliatory tariffs. But there are concerns about the negative impact those might have as well. And in the meantime, there's likely to be a bitter note in the cocktails at an upcoming celebration in Ottawa. Katie Simpson has more on that.
The 4th of July party, hosted by the U.S. ambassador to Canada, is one of Ottawa's hottest summer events. But this year's crowd will be missing at least one high-profile guest.
I politely decline because I'm not happy with the direction of the American government and their constant attacks on our country.
Ottawa's mayor is taking a stand given the state of Canada-U.S. relations.
You know, seeing what's happening with these constant threats to our steel industry, aluminum, our car industry, the dairy industry, and I've sent my regrets.
The tensions are also front and center for the governor of the Bank of Canada. Stephen Poloz announced today trade issues will be a factor in the bank's upcoming decision on interest rates.
We're working to incorporate in our projections the effects of the recently announced U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs, along with the retaliatory measures, both in Canada and globally.
Canada is still finalizing that list of retaliatory tariffs which kick in on July 1st. Items built with American steel and aluminum will be included, which means those goods are going to be slapped with new duties and prices will go up for consumers. The opposition is worried about the ripple effect these tariffs may cause.
It's this government's job to determine what is the net loss to Canadians versus the net gain of putting that tariff on an American company to determine whether or not the greater good is being served, because you can't gut industries in Canada because you want to show a sign of force.
In the midst of all this anxiety, the Prime Minister tried to deliver a message of calm this afternoon while meeting with a group of young business leaders.
We're going to be patient with the United States, but firm that we will stand up for our interests. We will stand up for the benefits of trade for our citizens.
How long Canada's patience will last really is the big question here. The longer the trade dispute drags on with the United States, the more severe the consequences will be for the Canadian economy. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
On the eve of an EU summit in crisis mode, that rescue ship packed with migrants in the Mediterranean has finally docked tonight. Floating in limbo for 6 days, the MV Lifeline was given safe harbor in Malta.
So now they are arriving 233 people, among them 17 women and 5 children.
Pressured by Italy, whose new government refused the ship, Malta allowed it in, but only after 7 other EU countries agreed to take the people on board, those passengers that qualify as refugees.
Procedures for identification, ascertaining of eligibility, and distribution in other member states of the persons involved will start immediately, together with the granting of the necessary medical attention.
That's just one example of how divided Europe is over the migrant crisis, something that will certainly dominate the EU summit. Even Angela Merkel's Germany, the country that led a campaign of compassion among its neighbors, could now see its coalition government collapse over the issue. The CBC's Margaret Evans is there.
When in Bavaria, you tend to know you're in Bavaria. From the lederhosen to that liquid gold known as beer. They pride themselves not only on being Germany's largest state, but its most distinct. And they bristle at any suggestion of insularity.
I think you can also be open and proud of your home at the same time.
But there are worries that intolerance is finding room to grow, and not just hidden away in dark corners. This is the State Library in Munich. As of June 1st, all public buildings in Bavaria have been ordered to display the cross, a decision courtesy of the governing Christian Social Union, or CSU party.
It remembers all people who work there, that they have to work under a higher power, and they have to fulfill the Christian way of life.
The Marienplatz, Munich's main square, celebrating the Virgin Mary and the end of the 30 Years' War. Bavaria is mainly Catholic, and the government describes its cross edict as protecting Bavarian culture, not attacking other religions. Critics disagree.
One of the main values of the state is the separation of state and church.
Tarek Karls has collected more than 50,000 signatures in an online petition against the state edict. Even though he's German and a Protestant Christian, he's received hate mail.
Most of all concerning my name, which is Arabic, and a lot of people thought that I am a Muslim.
The Munich train station was one of the main arrival points for the hundreds of thousands of mainly Syrian refugees making their way through Central Europe to Germany back in 2015-2016. Germany set up checkpoints along Bavaria's border with Austria in the midst of the crisis, and it still maintains them today, even though it contravenes the European Union's border-free ethos.
Scenes like these we're not supposed to see in the European Union anymore. People are supposed to be able to just drive easily and freely between European Union countries.
Even though the numbers of those claiming asylum in Germany have dropped dramatically, the debate over immigration remains highly charged.
There are problems, but on the other hand, we also have the AfD, the Alternative for Germany, who pushes this issue and makes everything unrelated to immigration related to immigration.
The far-right AfD is making gains in German politics and has its sights on Bavaria's state elections in the fall. Analysts and the AfD say Bavaria's CSU leaders are worried and so moving further to the right.
They copy us and then they try to sell it to the people as their own ideas.
And so we come full circle, with Bavaria's leaders accusing Angela Merkel of opening the door to the far right when she opened the door to refugees. There are also the coalition partners telling the German Chancellor that if she doesn't get tougher on immigration with her EU partners, her Bavarian partners will revolt. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Munich.
So as that summit is set to kick off tomorrow, Merkel needs the EU united on accepting migrants. But how likely is that? Italy has begun turning away ships that rescue migrants from the Mediterranean. Other frontline countries like Greece and Spain insist they can't bear the whole brunt, and getting other countries to chip in, an uphill battle. In Sweden, the far right is gaining popularity after a wave of deadly gang violence attributed to immigrants. And even the tolerant parties are stressing integration over open borders. Last week, Hungary made it a criminal act to help an undocumented migrant. It's also joined the Czech Republic, Slovenia, and Poland in rejecting migrant quotas. And last weekend, all 4 of them boycotted a mini summit on the crisis. What's more, the 16 leaders who did attend didn't come up with any solution. Okay, there are several other developing stories we are tracking tonight, including a new investigation taking a critical eye to U.S. shelters housing migrant children. Their Health and Human Services Inspector General's office plans to focus on health and safety concerns at those shelters. It'll also look into the qualifications of those people in charge of the children's well-being. In the meantime, the government is on the clock. Last night, a federal judge ordered all families whose children were separated at the border over the last several weeks to be reunited within 30 days.
Hate crimes are serious, violent, repugnant crimes.
U.S. officials today announced new federal hate crimes charges against James Alex Fields Jr. He's the man accused of mowing down a crowd of people counter-protesting a white nationalist rally last year in Charlottesville, Virginia. 1 woman was killed and several others were hurt in that attack. With the new charges, Fields could face the death penalty if found guilty. And we're getting new insight tonight into accused Ontario serial killer Bruce McArthur. Today, a judge unsealed a psychiatric report from 2003. At the time, McArthur had just pleaded guilty to attacking a man with a metal pipe. It was McArthur's lawyer who requested the assessment, and it concluded McArthur showed no signs of psychosis or any mental health disorder, and that at the time, the risk for violence was, quote, very minimal. Joanna Remiliotis has been leading our coverage on this story. And Joanna, you've been on this since the end of January. What else stuck out for you in this report?
The report provided some interesting insight, Andrew, into McArthur's past and his childhood. The fact that he always felt that he wasn't getting the approval of his father, and that was something that he sought. And it also talked about his difficulties embracing his own homosexuality. The report also found that while he didn't suffer any signs of major mental health disorders, it did find that he had an exaggerated sense of needing to please and being very, very afraid and dreading, those are the words that were used in the report, of facing the wrath of authorities in particular.
So what's next then with this investigation?
Police have just wrapped up looking at about 100 properties. These were clients of McArthur's landscaping business and have concluded that they haven't found anything there. And the plan now is to go back to ground zero. That's the residence where police seized those planters that contained the remains of McArthur's alleged victims. Police dogs were there last month, and the plan is to go back very soon and to start digging.
Okay, Joanna, thanks for this.
Thank you.
Money from organized crime is being laundered through British Columbia casinos. That's the conclusion of a scathing investigation published today. And despite promises of change, the issue has been largely ignored for years. But as Greg Rasmussen reports, clamping down on casinos might mean the problems just go elsewhere.
It's not donuts or a few groceries in those plastic bags. It's cash, hundreds of thousands of dollars, casually dumped onto the counter at a BC casino. This surveillance footage was released today to make a point.
Nobody said no. Nobody said no to taking this money, and that is inexcusable.
BC's Attorney General David Eby calls it a collective failure, blaming the province's previous Liberal government. At a bare minimum, $100 million was laundered through the casinos. The author of the study, a former senior RCMP officer and lawyer, found BC lags other jurisdictions, such as Las Vegas, where officials told him big piles of cash are a no-go.
I said if someone came in to a teller cage at a casino in Las Vegas with a box full of $20 bills, what would happen? And he said, well, that wouldn't occur.
Among the 48 recommendations, create a new gaming police force, have casinos stop taking large sums of questionable cash, and fund a new, more powerful regulator. But where will criminals go next?
You're looking at any sector of the economy, be it real estate, be it automobiles, be it high-end luxury goods, where people can purchase with cash.
To get ahead of the problem, BC promises to investigate luxury cars and real estate. Long overdue, says this money laundering expert.
In the real estate sector, I would say they are the least compliant with anti-money laundering law in BC, way more than the casino sector.
And the stakes are far higher, with billions in annual property transactions.
I think when he hits the housing sector, it's going to be a much more intensive report, but also more difficult because it's going to be hard to detect who really is behind a lot of the homes and how you tie that into organized crime.
It's a big issue, she says, for all of Canada, with criminals constantly looking for ways to launder their cash out of sight. Greg Rasmussen, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, a bit more background on all this. The problems in BC casinos were first unveiled by one of our own reporters, the CBC's Eric Rankin, in 2008. And his investigative team went undercover with stacks of cash to see what would happen.
That's it? Yep, that's it. That's pretty easy. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you. Bye.
Almost every time, casino tellers cashed out prize checks for large sums of money without question. In one case, nearly $10,000. And as Greg said, most of that laundered money comes from the illicit drug trade, mostly opioids. Coming up, we dig deeper into that story with a special investigation into the shocking number of addictive prescription drugs that go missing and are stolen from Canadian pharmacies each year, plus where they're likely to end up. Also, a controversial stage show by a prestigious Canadian director opens to cheers and jeers. Should white people tell stories of black slavery? And getting old can be difficult for anyone, but for LGBTQ seniors, why going into care could also mean going back into the closet.
We're worried about the care we're going to get. We're worried about being treated badly. We worry about actual physical harm happening to us, not only from staff, but from other residents.
You could say Robert Lepage, Canada's world-famous theatre artist, is on a roll. At the Stratford Festival, his take on Shakespeare's Coriolanus has been deemed another masterpiece. We recently gave you a taste of Frame by Frame, his acclaimed collaboration with the National Ballet. Fans around the world are eager to see it on tour. But in Montreal, his latest presentation is under attack.
Cancel the show! Cancel the show! Cancel the show! Cancel the show!
He is accused by some of cultural appropriation. Jayla Bernstein breaks down the controversy.
The Montreal International Jazz Festival describes Slave as a journey from slavery to segregation to mass incarceration. These demonstrators say that story is not for white people to tell.
They are co-opting our pain, they are co-opting our suffering, they are co-opting our very history.
Way down to Georgia, my sweet baby waits for me down there.
The show draws inspiration from traditional African American slave songs. Out of the 7 people on stage, 2 are black. The star, singer Betty Boniface, is white, and so is the director, Robert Lepage.
To me, to see white people playing slaves, that was a bit too much to me.
Webster often addresses the history of slavery in his music. He saw an early version of Slave and says while it was well done, the ingredients were all wrong.
You could have put forth some black comedians, some black singers, could have discovered new artists, and that was a nice way to introduce new people to the realm of medias and culture here in Quebec, and we missed it.
Boniface and Lepage are defending their art, urging people to see the show before they judge. They add, from our point of view, whether black or white, we all have a responsibility to look at the darkest episodes of our history and try to find some light in them. Controversy aside, Slave has sold out its first 5 shows. The Jazz Fest, for its part, says its name is synonymous with a global village without gender, race, or religion. It says this year is no exception. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
Next on The National, an investigation into the staggering number of missing prescription drugs in this country. More than 500,000 prescription drugs are stolen each year. Most are opioids.
You're behind the counter, someone in holding a gun and saying, I need those narcotics. So we all say, don't even argue. It's just give them what they want. They're not going to lose your life over this issue.
Where do they end up? In a special CBC News investigation. Next.
A truck is worth more than a young Native man's life in this country.
On the National tonight, anger from an Indigenous community leader in Ontario. It comes after Peter Cahill was found not guilty of murdering a First Nations man who was trying to steal his truck. He'd previously admitted he fired 2 close-range shots at John Stiers in 2016, but argued it was in self-defense.
I was alone, my infant daughter was in the house, and I am that last line of defense between these criminals and my daughter. Now you're going back to that every noise in the dark you're not sure about.
An Alberta homeowner has spoken for the first time since charges of aggravated assault against him were dropped. Eddie Maurice says he fired a warning shot at the ground when he spotted 2 alleged trespassers on his rural property back in February. Maurice's wife says charges should never have been laid.
Look at the brutal force these police officers are using on a civilian here as they tase this man repeatedly.
And Ontario's police watchdog is investigating after the man in this video died following his arrest in Barrie last week. A bystander recorded the incident. Police say the 32-year-old was taken to a police station where he went into medical distress. His identity has not been released, nor has the reason for his arrest. Well, millions of addictive drugs are missing from Canadian pharmacies. A CBC investigation is shedding light on the number of narcotics that are reported lost or stolen by pharmacies right across the country. The numbers are going up. And some of those drugs are winding up on the street, where the demand for pharmaceutical-grade opioids is relentless. Here's health reporter Vic Adopia with what we've uncovered.
Sorry, guys, coming through.
Try pinning down Dana McInnes for an interview, and this happens.
You want to do the oxygen? Yeah, I'm hooking it up right now.
A man lying on the sidewalk. McInnes was prepared.
I think he needs a breathing tube.
The man is breathing again, now for the paramedics.
A gentleman has overdosed on drugs of some kind.
Within minutes, more help arrives. This happens a few times a day outside this drug injection site in Vancouver, run by volunteers like McInnes, pros at treating overdoses in the downtown east side.
One person monitors the oxygen, one person monitors the oximeter, and the other person phones 911. And we work as a team. It went really well.
I got it.
McInnes has saved numerous lives, and his life has also been saved. That's because he's addicted to opioids. It began as an injury with a prescription for painkillers.
It's very difficult.
When those ran out, he turned to the street.
And you tell yourself that, okay, this is just the last time we'll do this. But then in a couple weekends, you come down again, and maybe you buy 2 because you want 1 for tomorrow.
And 2 became 3, and now it's been years of addiction. A former stage actor and carpenter, McInnes lost it all, but gained an appreciation for the high street value of prescription drugs.
Originally, I was looking for Demerol, but they told me that it was going to be very expensive and very hard to find, so that I tried what they called down, which could be any number of opiates mixed with benzodiazepines. Yeah, there's a number of things that down can be. You're never quite sure what you're getting.
The only way to be sure is finding prescription drugs, and a lot of them wind up for sale on the street. According to data we obtained from Health Canada, in 2012, just over 1 million doses of narcotics were reported missing from pharmacies. Those losses have almost doubled, adding up to 8 million doses over 6 years. About 800 pills lost or stolen for every pharmacy in Canada. and the drugs are overwhelmingly opioids. Oxycodone, hydromorphone, codeine, methadone, and morphine. 9% of those missing drugs were lost in transit, spilled, or damaged. 11% were pilfered by pharmacy staff or other supply chain employees. Almost half were stolen in robberies. But there's no explanation about what happened to the rest, about a third. That means Health Canada doesn't know what happened to nearly 3 million pills. In Ontario, robberies are on the rise.
It's one of the things that pharmacists, I'd say, deal with on almost daily basis.
This pharmacist has been robbed twice. Fadi Faraz also works for a company that helps other independent pharmacists in Ontario to ensure they're in line with Health Canada's rules for keeping tabs on narcotics. It's supposed to hold pharmacists accountable for losses, but it can't prevent them all.
You're behind the counter, someone in holding a gun and saying, I need those narcotics. So we always say, don't even argue.
Health Canada has tried to plug the holes at pharmacies ever since it began inspecting them 3 years ago to ensure lost or stolen drugs are reported. Some pharmacy staff are busted for pocketing drugs.
There is a lot of regulation.
Faraz says internal thefts are hard to get away with.
It's not really a common thing for a pharmacist to start going to the shelf and grabbing pills. It doesn't work this way. Pills are tracked from the moment they leave the wholesaler.
Still, stealing from behind the counter happens.
Sometimes as first responders, we have no idea what we're coming across. And even more so, oxycodone hit the market. And as you can see, these are rates of opioid deaths in certain areas.
These Ontario provincial police officers get the latest on the illegal trade of prescription drugs from Detective Constable Chris Auger, the Organized Crime Bureau's expert on the subject.
We still get a lot of oxycodone, we still get hydromorphone. Fentanyl, we are getting more of it in a powdered form.
The OPP continues to seize lots of prescription opioids, despite tighter controls on dispensing. The numbers we obtained from Health Canada, he says, don't tell the whole story.
Reported numbers are always going to be lower than usually what is actually occurring out in the communities. So I'd say the number is lower than what we are probably seeing actually diverted out.
Auger was an expert witness in the criminal trial of this Woodstock, Ontario pharmacist. Yogesh Patel was sentenced to 10 years in prison for trafficking in hydromorphone and fentanyl patches, $1 million worth. Then there was the case of this Ottawa pharmacy and the faked robbery to cover up a drug trafficking pharmacist. Even though it's unusual for a pharmacist to be charged criminally for stealing drugs, according to figures we obtained from provincial colleges of pharmacists, about 90 pharmacists have been disciplined in Canada for the way they handled narcotics over the last 6 years. The most common reason, failing to secure narcotics, dispensing drugs without a proper prescription, stealing, and trafficking. Then there are the unknown number of pharmacists whose disciplinary hearings are kept secret by the colleges, their identities protected due to addiction or mental health problems. There are also other ways prescriptions end up on the street. Thefts from patients or patients who sell their painkillers and old medication given back to pharmacies. In the past 4 years, at least 2 pharmacists in Canada stole opioids that were returned by patients and overdosed. 1 died.
The idea of you handing it over to somebody, you're of the good faith that that person is going to put it back into dispensing and make sure it's been disposed of properly, instead of going like this and going, thank you, sir, for your mother's hydromorphone, and I'm going to place it in my pocket as you turn around, because nobody's really accurately accounted for that.
Health Canada wouldn't do an interview with us. In a statement, they acknowledged a significant increase of reports of loss and theft at pharmacies, which they say is the result of new outreach and engagement with the industry.
I think to see those numbers with the number of units is pretty stark, and I think...
Mina Tadros is a pharmacist and works with the Ontario Drug Policy Research Network. Our data on missing drugs surprised him, but considering there are more than 20 million prescriptions written every year for opioids, Tadros says lost or stolen drugs are hard to avoid.
I think they're a byproduct of the opioid crisis. And what I mean by that is that perhaps some of these spikes that are increasing are because every time that you tighten up regulations, the demand for these drugs doesn't disappear.
And nowhere is that truer than in BC, where fewer prescriptions are being written for opioids and thefts from pharmacies are down. But overdoses are only climbing. as more dangerous drugs fill the void, keeping Dana McInnes busy.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta come up front.
Vic Adopia, CBC News, Vancouver.
Narcotics go missing from pharmacies at different rates in different provinces. In Quebec, for every 10 people, 2 doses of opioids were lost. And for every 10 British Columbians, it was 3 doses. But in Newfoundland and Labrador, 8 doses were lost for every 10 people there. That's the highest rate in the country. It's also one of the only provinces where opioid prescriptions increased over the last 5 years. In general, there has been pressure to cut down on prescribing opioids and also to plug the holes at those leaky pharmacies. But that too has dangers because, as British Columbia has discovered, it can force addicts to take a chance on even riskier street drugs, as Vic alluded to. Tomorrow, Vic will focus on the toll that's taking.
It's like leaks in the Grand Canyon, and we're putting bubble gum in the holes and hoping it holds. It's nothing is changing. I think that even with all the things that are happening, there's not a lot that's changing.
Still ahead tonight, we will introduce you to 3 LGBTQ seniors who say they're worried about having to choose between being honest about themselves and getting good care as they get older.
I mean, do you worry that people might treat you differently because you're gay?
I do. And I think it would be unjustified.
What is the worry?
Isolation, that they won't accept me.
LGBTQ people have fought long and hard for equality in this country. It's been almost 50 years since the first gay rights protests took place in Ottawa and Vancouver. Just over 20 years since sexual orientation was added to the Canadian Human Rights Act. And 13 years ago, same-sex couples won the right to get married in this country. But the gains that LGBTQ Canadians have made, while hard-won, don't last for everyone. And many worry as they get older, they're actually losing ground. CBC's Nick Purdon met up with 3 seniors who fear that in order to get the care they need going forward, they may have to hide their pride.
My name, well, David Bisdell. And who am I? Well, I'm an older gay man. I'm having a hard time, I guess, making that transition from being young to being old. When I'm dreaming, I'm young. In my dreams, I'm young.
When you look in the mirror, what do you see?
I see an old man. I see somebody that I didn't want to become. I'm not afraid of dying. What I'm afraid of is the time from now until the time that I do die. And the way I see it right now, going into a senior's home, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be any fun.
I mean, do you worry that people might treat you differently because you're gay?
I do. And I think it would be unjustified.
What is the worry?
Isolation, that they won't accept me.
Imagine feeling that at the end of your life. Now, one of the problems, and seniors will tell you this, is that you become more and more invisible as you age. That's why Leslie Lee Kam does whatever she can to be seen.
I'm a very proud queer dyke, as you can see. I wear my dyke t-shirt proudly. And this is my buddy Lily, who goes everywhere with me, especially, I want to show you, on the dance floor.
Leslie is a youthful 64. And one of the things Lily, her cane, does for her is remind Leslie of the time she spent in a Toronto rehab hospital a couple of years ago.
This one nurse came in and said to me, "Look at you, you're a mess. It's bad enough that you're one of those, and now I have to come and clean you up." And it was humiliating because I had no control and I had to totally depend on her. And for the whole time she was cleaning me, she kept making homophobic remarks. kept saying, you know, you don't have a husband, you don't have children, where do you think you're going to go in life? It's bringing tears to my eyes just thinking about it. If I'm there for good health care, it shouldn't matter who I am, right? What my sexual orientation is. That shouldn't matter when you're providing me health care.
Listening to Leslie, I can't help but wonder, why aren't LGBT seniors protesting? Well, Leslie points out that it wasn't until 1969 that it was even legal to be gay in this country. So if you're 70 years old today, you remember that.
Many of us are afraid because we have been so stigmatized for so many years at this age. Those of us who are 55 and 60 plus are still afraid to speak out. We are people just like everybody else, but we have led such stressful lives, and some of us still do. We don't have the support systems that straight seniors have in place. And that's why we are going back into the closet.
After struggling to come out, LGBT seniors get to the end of their lives and face a horrible choice.
We are having to decide whether we want to come out and be our whole selves, or we want to get good health care.
Would you ever go back into the closet?
Never. Never. Nope. It's going to be a fight to the end.
But here's the thing, Leslie's not fighting by herself.
Over the years, many of people in our LGBT community have been wounded. They've been wounded because they've been discriminated against.
That's Brian Hobbs. He's 69, retired, and his passion today is to make people aware of the discrimination that LGBT seniors face going into care. Everyone in this seminar either works or volunteers with seniors.
They might feel threatened to come here and be part of things. Or they might hide. They might pretend to be straight and they're not.
The reason Brian does this is deeply personal. And it actually starts way back in high school, when he was left to eat alone in the cafeteria every day.
Nobody looked at me, not even the teachers. They'd walk past, and it's like I didn't exist. What if the same thing happened in a residence? What if people didn't welcome me at their table? What if I was the one who sat alone at a table in the corner of the room at 79? So that happened to me when I was a teenager, but I sure don't want it to happen again when I'm a senior and in care.
In the seminar, to help workers understand that fear, Brian uses an anecdote that happened just a few months ago.
I had some friends who were an elderly gay couple around 80 years old, and eventually one of them became ill and had to be placed in a long-term care facility. And one of the things they asked me was that, you know, could you stand in the doorway? And if a personal service worker or a nurse would go by, signal us, because we don't want to be seen holding hands or embracing, you know, on the bed. Because they were afraid if the nurses caught them doing that, they would discriminate against them. People will sometimes say to us, okay, so what do you gays want? And what we want is to be treated with the same dignity and respect and kindness that is accorded to everybody else. Nothing more than that, but nothing less. So thank you for listening.
Brian's hope is pretty simple, that LGBT seniors can be whoever they want to be when they go into long-term care. Would you ever go back into the closet?
No. I'd just be who I am. I'm not flamboyant. I'm not one that I don't think I'm one that you can pick out on the street and say he's a fag. You know, I just feel normal, except that I'm gay.
The seniors who are facing what David's up against are the same seniors who fought for gay rights for all generations. It seems only fair. They should live how they want in their final years. Nick Purdon, CBC News, Toronto.
So this issue may only get bigger as more baby boomers reach retirement age. Within the next 20 years, people 65 or older could make up to a quarter of Canada's population. And because people in that age group are more susceptible to chronic diseases, it's expected to put huge pressure on an already stressed healthcare system. Well, still ahead on The National. Not a great day for soccer fans in Germany. 4 years after winning the whole thing, ousted in the first round. That shocker result is our moment of the day after the break. And remember, you can get a little bit of The National in your inbox earlier in the day. Every weekday, The National Today goes deep on several notable stories, and it explores stories you might have missed. In today's newsletter, could there be peace in South Sudan? We explore the shaky ceasefire agreed to this morning after 5 years of civil war. You can subscribe at cbcnews.ca/The National. German fans were stunned today as their team was eliminated from the World Cup. The defending champions lost 2-0 to South Korea. It's the first time in 80 years Germany hasn't made it past the first round. And Germany's surprising defeat and what happened right after is our moment of the day. Have you ever seen fans so upset? After watching their team win the World Cup in 2014, hopes were dashed late in today's match. South Korea scored 3 minutes into stoppage time, and then another goal 3 minutes later sealed the deal. It was an upset. South Korean fans were ecstatic, despite knowing their team didn't have any hope of advancing either. So after today's game, both Mexico and Sweden move on to the next round. And Mexican fans made sure to show their appreciation. Here they are celebrating outside the South Korean embassy in Mexico City. Thanks to them, they'll have a shot at making the quarterfinals, something they haven't done in 32 years. So again, the last time this happened to Germany, 1938. You have to go back almost a century to find this happening. And keep in mind, they weren't coming into this just as defending champions. They're also coming off a big win of the Confederations Cup last summer. So at worst, this is apocalyptic for the team. At best, it is a dark day for German football or soccer, whatever you want to call it. That's The National for this Wednesday, June 27th. Have a good night.